I guess a lot of the creative talent I see is probably gathered in this room at the moment, but it's representative of the activity of smaller businesses, of startup companies, of small creative teams that come up with an idea with very little money in their garage, can set up a business, not be constrained by the high costs of server infrastructure. You can just outsource everything online now. A lot harder to do that in a large business. And I guess one of the areas that I'm not seeing a lot of activity is within corporate Australia. There's a lot of discussion. You've certainly seen these people attending seminars. But in terms of getting involved in social media, of developing new apps and reaching out to a marketplace, the big end of town in Australia seems to be running a little bit slowly. Any advice to those guys as to how they might be able to take advantage of what's happening around us?
Yeah, one, don't use your internal IT guys to do web stuff, because your network guy knows networks, your desktop guy knows desktops. But it's a bit like you say I'm an IT guy. They expect you to be be a world-class creative designer, be able to sort of build a synchrotron, and show them how to use PowerPoint. Again, so I look at the industry, and I've always said for a long time that the web industry, it's relatively small, but we don't really compete that hard against each other. We're generally competing with internal IT shops who don't know the value of the sort of creative stuff, or talking to some big companies who are sort of SAP-centric, which is, for those of you who don't sort of work in that world, is a massive sort of system that thinks everything can be in the one place. But you go in there and say, you've got all this data, why don't you visualise it or get some insight from it? Oh, but SAP doesn't do that. It's like, exactly, so you're going to have to stick, an AJAX interface, or do something with Flash, or, stick some apps over the top of it. Oh, but that's not SAP. It's like, exactly, SAP specialises in grey screens. That's not going to give people help or access to data. So we are finding that there are some companies that are good at it, but in the main, you're still working with a group of CIOs whose sort of attitude is, do not come anywhere near my IT stack. It's bloody hard enough for me to manage it. It is. So some sort of weird guy with long hair and glasses comes in and says, hey, I'm going to do some AJAX or Flash, and they say, fuck off. I don't want to change SAP, and I don't believe that the world should be open, and I don't want to communicate with anybody except to tell the CEO that I need more budget.
But it doesn't just...
That's the reality.
Yeah. It doesn't just seem to be the IT guys, though. I mean, a few years back we were reading a lot about the rise of corporate blogs and of large companies engaging in social media, of letting consumers create their advertisements for them, of wanting to be inclusive with their constituents. And in this country, I'm just not seeing it. I mean, are we afraid to engage here?
Yeah, fear is a wonderful thing, but I say to people, if you want to find out what it's the really big stuff that's going to happen on the internet, go to any major corporation in Australia and say, what have you banned? And you can tell whatever they've banned is like shit. But why do they? So say at Deloitte, it was funny, I don't know if he's here, Jay was in Melbourne. Our CEO of Deloitte was down in Melbourne a couple of days ago, and one of the young guys was teaching him how to use Facebook. So somebody like Guillaume Swiggers at Deloitte, he sent an email to all the partners about 18 months ago and said, you know what? The reality is, our people are young, and they're going to be using all these file sharing and social networking tools. We cannot stop it. And it's just ludicrous to think we can. But you're working in a world where in large corporations, they're sort of worried about risk and reputation. And so what they do is say, ban stuff. So you look at the number of organisations that have banned Facebook. And I say, okay, that's a great idea. So you normally deploy apps that are unusable, and you have to spend hours and hours training people, and they hate using them. Yet here comes an application where 30%, 40% of people have used just because they like it, with 4,000 applications that they can say, I want that one, or that one, or no, I don't want that anymore, I like that one, I'll tell my friend, and you say, shit, that's a problem? I'm saying, this is nirvana. What other corporation in the world could have delivered 4,500 apps in 5 months? It's like, you guys shouldn't be banning this stuff. You guys should say, this is a bellwether of what IT is supposed to be about. It's about getting users who can just intuitively decide what they need, get access to when they want it. But again, it goes back to what will they say? How can I control it? It's like, well, you can't. And they'll say, if you're a shit employer, they'll say you're a shit employer. If you're a good employer, they'll say, hey, you're a good employer. So again, I say that, but I've gone through this in internet email back in 1992. That got banned. Can you imagine not using internet email in 2007? Internet comes out, internet access in most organisations, ban. Why? Oh, people are going to waste their time. Oh, yeah, they're going to waste their time using the largest knowledge database in the world. Yeah, that'd be a real waste of time. So, and we're just seeing the same with social networking. But when I talk to organisations about social networking or blogs, it's like, we've moved from this world of one-way controlled published communication to it's interactive, that you're not about sort of, I talk to marketers and say, your role of sort of take product, put on spin and try and con consumer is gone, because the consumers will look at it and say, actually, I'll give you an example of my son. He's a bit of a 50s type guy, and some chicks rang him up the other day and said, oh, can we come over and play in your game room? Because we've got a gaming room in the roof, as you normally would. And he said, oh, only if you make me dinner. So they turn up with some of these thing called mee goreng, these noodles that young people like apparently. And it's all written in sort of Japanese and stuff. And he's like, well, what is this? And then half an hour later come and he's eating it. And I said, oh, I thought you thought it was dodgy. He goes, oh, no, that's okay. I went online and I looked up and I found a blog of a guy who loves this stuff, so I ate it, I mean, that's, there was no spin doctor involved there. It was, if I want to know something, I'll go and ask people. If I want to know where to get broadband, I'll go to Whirlpool, So I'll listen to what you say. Actually, no, I won't listen to what you say. I'll hear what you say, but I'll validate it through the community. And that's the reality. But corporates are still sort of struggling but hang on, control. But what we're saying to people is, if you look at what you're doing, give people easy access, take away the control and let them change it, and you'll actually find that your consumers become your producers. It's like Lego did with Mindstorms. They said, oh shit, all these people are hacking our products and they're not our R&D guys or product guys. And then somebody said, yeah, but they're doing better stuff than our R&D and product guys. Why don't we let them do the work and we'll sell the stuff they do? It's the same with, the Apple iPhone. One of the kids who works for me runs a import business through a mail forwarding address and is selling iPhones here, and he's obviously hacking them and it all works and stuff. Apple, we're going to release new firmware that fucks up all the hacks. How stupid. If these people are making your product much better than you can make it, why not sort of say, I love you guys, you're doing all my R&D and product development for free? No, we'll ban them. And Sony, the poster child of sort of closed-mindedness and Sony and their PSP, that could have been the greatest device of all time, but no, we've got to lock it down, kill the hackers. It's, we're worked into it. We're in a different world, and you can tell I get a little bit pissed off about this stuff, but it's, that's the sort of mindsets we've got to break down. But you've got to think of it, these people are used to being in control of everything, and they think they can manage risk by putting rules and laws and guard dogs around things. Those days are gone, and corporates are corporates are realising that.
Do you think it's fair to say, though, that a lot of brands are scared of opening themselves up through a social media format because they're actually worried about learning what their consumers really think of them?
Oh, absolutely. Well, that's the thing. It's like, the thing with all this digital media stuff, the beauty of it is you can moderate it. So if somebody says really bad shit about you, you can say, no, get rid of that or that. But that's the thing. The emperor's got no clothes, and maybe they realise it or maybe they don't, but they're sort of, oh, if I open it up, people might say bad things. It's like, well, if you treat complaints as feedback, you're sort of on a path to sort of redemption. But it's that lack of control. But it's who did that ad thing? The Chrysler, was it Chrysler who in the US where they gave the sort of artifacts so people create their own ads, and they're advertising some car, and people were coming along with ads saying like yesterday's technology today and all that sort of stuff. But if you go back to, I go a little bit over the place here, Brad, but if you go back to the early days of Graham Kennedy, so Graham Kennedy, if you ever saw that movie, one of the first things he did, was a dog food or some product that he absolutely made, really dissed it and all that stuff. The sales went through the roof. But again, it was that sort of, take off your airs and graces, get real, and things will work for you. But I think that's the other thing. Corporates aren't used to being authentic. They're not used to being real. They're not used to having a conversation. So at the big end of town, that's where they struggle. So will it change? I think market forces will make them change.
Change tack for a moment. One of the things I've noticed recently is I've just completed an assignment looking at 4 very fast growth companies and talking to their IT guys about how they actually structure their IT. If you're a business that's growing at 100% a year, how do you go about building out an IT infrastructure to be able to cope with that? And all 4 of them have basically moved beyond buying packaged software.
Yeah,
Everything
you don't.
they do is now hosted.
Yeah.
They're going for on-demand solutions such as Salesforce or NetSuite.
Yeah.
You know, the Atlassian guys are doing well out of Jira and Confluence.
Absolutely. We use both of those products. We love them.
Have the days of the package app passed us by?
It's just putting the accounting hat back on for a second. If you think of packaged software, the model is